From translation, NIV New International Version. This 35th day of the year. Today we are reading passages Leviticus 11 to 13. Leviticus chapter 11, verses 1 to 47. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, say to the Israelites, of all the animals that live on land, these are the ones you may eat. You may eat any animal that has a split completely divided hoof and that chews the cud. There are some that only chew the cud or only have a split hoof, but you must not eat them. The camel, though it chews the cud, does not have a split hoof. It is ceremonially unclean for you. The rock badger, though it chews the cud, does not have a split hoof. It is ceremonially unclean for you. The rabbit, though it chews the cud, does not have a split hoof. It is ceremonially unclean for you. And the pig, though it has a split hoof completely divided, does not chew the cud. It is ceremonially unclean for you. You must not eat their meat or touch their carcasses. They are ceremonially unclean for you. Of all the creatures living in the water of the seas and the streams, you may eat any that have fins and scales. But all creatures in the seas or streams that do not have fins and scales, whether among all the swarming things or among all the other living creatures in the water, you are to detest. And since they are to be detested, you must not eat their meat. You must regard their carcasses as unclean. Anything living in the water that does not have fins and scales is to be detested by you. These are the birds you are to regard as detestable, and not eat because they are detestable. The eagle, the vulture, the black vulture, the red kite, any kind of black kite, any kind of raven, the horned owl, the screech owl, the gull, any kind of hawk, the little owl, the cormorant, the great owl, the white owl, the desert owl, the osprey, the stork, any kind of heron, the hoopoe and the bat. All flying insects that walk on all fours are to be regarded as detestable to you. There are, however, some winged insects that walk on all fours that you may eat. You may eat any of the winged insects that walk on all fours that have jointed legs for hopping on the ground. Of these you may eat any kind of locust, katydid, cricket, or locust. You will make yourselves unclean by these. Whoever touches their carcasses will be unclean till evening. Whoever picks up one of their carcasses must wash their clothes, and they will be unclean till evening. Every animal that has a split hoof but does not chew the cud is unclean for you. Whoever touches them will be unclean. Of all the animals that walk on all fours, those that walk on their paws are unclean for you. Whoever touches their carcasses will be unclean till evening. Anyone who picks up their carcasses must wash their clothes, and they will be unclean till evening. They are unclean for you. Of the animals that move along the ground, these are unclean for you. The weasel, the rat, any kind of great lizard, the gecko, the monitor lizard, the wall lizard, the skink and the chameleon. These are unclean for you among all creatures. Whoever touches them when they are dead will be unclean till evening. Anything they fall into when dead will be unclean. A wooden article, a garment, a skin, a sack, any article used for work. It must be put in water. It will be unclean till evening, and then it will be clean. If one of them falls into a clay pot, everything in it will be unclean, and you must break the pot. Any food in it that could be eaten, on which water has still come, will be unclean, and any drink in it that could be drunk will be unclean. Anything that one of their carcasses falls into must be washed, and it will be unclean till evening. If a clay pot is broken, it must be broken. Any such article that is used for work must be put in water and washed, and it will be unclean till evening. A spring or a cistern holding water remains clean, but anyone who touches one of these carcasses is unclean. If any of their carcasses falls on any seed that is to be planted, it remains clean. But if water has been put on the seed and any part of their carcasses falls on it, it is unclean for you. If an animal that you are allowed to eat dies, anyone who touches its carcass will be unclean till evening. Anyone who eats some of its carcass must wash their clothes, and they will be unclean till evening. Anyone who picks up its carcass must wash their clothes, and they will be unclean till evening. Every creature that moves along the ground is to be regarded as unclean. It is not to be eaten. Whatever moves on its belly, whatever walks on all fours, or whatever has many feet among all the creatures that move along the ground, you are not to eat, because they are detestable. Do not defile yourselves by any of these creatures. Do not make yourselves unclean by them or become unclean by them. I am the Lord your God. Consecrate yourselves and be holy, because I am holy. Do not make yourselves unclean by any creature that moves about on the ground. I am the Lord who brought you up out of Egypt to be your God. Therefore be holy, because I am holy. These are the regulations concerning animals, birds, every living thing that moves about in the water, and every creature that moves along the ground. You must distinguish between the unclean and the clean, between living creatures that may be eaten and those that may not be eaten. Leviticus chapter 12, verses 1 to 8. The Lord said to Moses, say to the Israelites, a woman who becomes pregnant and gives birth to a son will be ceremonially unclean for 7 days, just as she is unclean during her monthly period. On the 8th day the boy is to be circumcised. Then the woman must wait 33 days to be purified from her bleeding. She must not touch anything sacred or go to the sanctuary until the days of her purification are over. If she gives birth to a daughter, for 2 weeks the woman will be unclean, as she is during her period. Then she must wait 66 days to be purified from her bleeding. When the days of her purification for a son or daughter are over, she is to bring to the priest at the entrance to the tent of meeting a year-old lamb for a burnt offering, and a young pigeon or a dove for a sin offering. He shall offer them before the Lord to make atonement for her, and then she will be ceremonially clean from her flow of blood. If she cannot afford a lamb, she is to bring 2 doves or 2 young pigeons, one for a burnt offering and the other for a sin offering. The priest shall make atonement for her, and she will be clean. If she cannot afford a dove or a pigeon, she is to bring an offering of 2 quarts of fine flour as a sin offering. She must not put olive oil on it or place incense on it, because it is a sin offering. Leviticus chapter 13, verses 1 to 59. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "When anyone has a sore on their skin, and that sore becomes a defiling skin disease, they must be brought to the priest Aaron, or to one of his sons who is a priest. The priest is to examine the sore on their skin. And if it appears to be defiling skin disease, the priest shall examine the person carefully. After examining the defiling sore, the priest shall pronounce the person unclean. If the sore is white on their skin and their hair has turned white in it, and the sore appears to be deeper than the skin, it is defiling skin disease. When the priest examines them, he shall pronounce them unclean. If the sore is white on their skin, but does not appear to be deeper than the skin, and the hair in it has not turned white, the priest shall isolate the affected person for 7 days. On the 7th day the priest is to examine them, and if the sore is unchanged and has not spread in the skin, the priest shall isolate them for another 7 days. On the 7th day the priest is to examine them again, and if the sore has faded and has not spread in the skin, the priest shall pronounce them clean. It is only a rash. They must wash their clothes and they will be clean. But if the sore does appear to be spreading in the skin, the priest shall pronounce them unclean. It is defiling skin disease. When anyone has a sore on their skin and that sore becomes scaly, it must be examined for defiling skin disease. If the scales on the sore appear to be deeper than the skin and the hair in it has turned white, it is defiling skin disease. When the priest examines them, he shall pronounce them unclean. When anyone has defiling skin disease, they must be brought to the priest. The priest is to examine them, and if there is a white sore on their skin that has turned the hair white and the sore appears to be deeper than the skin, it is defiling skin disease. When the priest examines them, he shall pronounce them unclean. After examining them, if the sore is white on their skin and has not spread, it is defiling skin disease. It is unclean. An open sore with reddish-white spots on their skin may be a defiling skin disease, or it may not. When the priest examines them, if the sore appears to be deeper than the skin and the hair in it has turned white, it is defiling skin disease. The priest shall pronounce them unclean. If, however, the sore is white on their skin and does not appear to be deeper than the skin and the hair has not turned white, the priest shall isolate the affected person for 7 days. On the 7th day the priest is to examine them, and if the sore has not spread and there is no yellow hair in it, and the sore appears to be no deeper than the skin, the priest shall pronounce them clean. They must wash their clothes and they will be clean, but if it does spread after they have been pronounced clean, they must be brought to the priest again. The priest shall examine them, and if the sore has spread, he shall not look for yellow hair. They are unclean. When anyone has a boil on their skin and it heals, and in the place where the boil was, a white sore or reddish-white spot appears, they must be shown to the priest. When the priest sees it, if it appears to be deeper than the skin and the hair in it has turned white, the priest shall pronounce them unclean. It is defiling skin disease, breaking out where the boil was. But if, however, the sore remains as it was and does not spread, and there is no reddish-white in it, it is the scar from the boil, and the priest shall pronounce them clean. When someone has a burn on their skin and a reddish-white or white spot appears in the raw flesh of the burn, the priest shall examine them. If the hair in the spot has turned white and it appears to be deeper than the skin, it is defiling skin disease. It has broken out in the burn, and the priest shall pronounce them unclean. But if the spot is reddish-white or white, and does not appear to be deeper than the skin, and the hair has not turned white, the priest shall isolate the affected person for 7 days. On the 7th day the priest is to examine them, and if the sore has not spread in the skin, and there is no yellow hair in it, and the sore appears to be no deeper than the skin, the priest shall pronounce them clean. They must wash their clothes, and they will be clean. But if the sore does spread in the skin after they have been pronounced clean, the priest shall examine them again. If the sore has spread, the priest shall not look for yellow hair. They are unclean, but if the sore remains unchanged in the skin and has not spread, it is scar from the burn, and the priest shall pronounce them clean. When a man or woman has a sore on their head or chin, the priest shall examine the sore. If it appears to be more than skin deep, and the hair in it is yellow and thin, it is defiling skin disease on the head or chin. They are unclean. But if, however, the sore is white and appears to be no deeper than the skin and the hair in it has not turned white, the priest shall isolate the affected person for 7 days. On the 7th day the priest is to examine them, and if the sore has not spread and there is no yellow hair in it, and the sore appears to be no deeper than the skin, they must shave themselves, but not shave the area of the sore. The priest is to isolate them for another 7 days. On the 7th day the priest is to examine them again, and if the sore has not spread and there is no yellow hair in it and the sore appears to be no deeper than the skin, they shall shave their head, except for the area of the sore, and they will be clean. But if the sore spreads after they have been pronounced clean, they must be shown to the priest again. The priest shall examine them, and if the sore has spread, they are unclean. They are unclean. When a man or woman has white spots on the skin, the priest shall examine them. If the spots are white but do not appear to be deeper than the skin, it is a harmless rash. They are clean. If anyone loses their hair from the head, they are clean. If they lose their hair from the forehead and temples, they are clean. But if they have a sore on their bald head or bald forehead, it is defiling skin disease breaking out on their head or forehead. When the priest examines them, if the sore on their bald head or bald forehead appears to be more than skin deep and is covered with yellowish hair, they have defiling skin disease, they are unclean. They have defiling skin disease, they are unclean. The priest shall pronounce them unclean because of the sore on their head. As for the person with defiling skin disease, their clothes shall be torn, their hair unkempt. They must cover their lower lip and cry out, unclean. Unclean, as long as they have the disease they remain unclean. They must live alone, they must live outside the camp. When fabric is contaminated with mildew, a defiling skin disease in wool or linen fabric or in the linen or wool lining of a garment, if it is greenish or reddish in the fabric or the leather, regardless of how it is used, it is a defiling mildew and must be shown to the priest. The priest is to examine the mildew and isolate the affected article for 7 days. On the 7th day he is to examine it, and if the mildew has spread in the fabric, the leather or the weaving or the linen lining, it is a persistent defiling mildew. The article is unclean. He is to burn the fabric, the leather, the weaving or anything made of leather that has the mildew on it, because it is a persistent defiling mildew. The article must be burned up. But if the priest examines it and the mildew has not spread in the fabric, the leather or the weaving or the linen lining, he shall order them to wash what has been contaminated and isolate it again for another 7 days. After the article has been washed, the priest is to examine it again, and if the mildew has not changed its appearance, even though it has not spread, it is unclean. Burn it, no matter which side the mildew is on. But if the priest examines it and the mildew has faded after the article has been washed, he shall tear out the contaminated part from the fabric, the leather or the weaving or the linen lining. But if it appears again in the fabric, the leather or the weaving or the linen lining, it is a persistent defiling mildew. The article must be burned. The fabric, whether wool or linen, or any leather article that has been washed and is rid of the mildew, must be washed again and will be clean. This is the regulation concerning defiling mildew in wool or linen fabrics, or in any woven or knitted article of linen or wool. It is to be used to determine whether the article is unclean or clean.